What's up, y'all? It's your boy T-Thizzle88. I'm just playing with y'all. What's up, y'all? It's your boy T-Thizzle88, and today I'm going to be exploring a controversial topic. This question has not been explored by too many people, but I decided to flip the tables with this one. Go ahead and mix it up in my commentary style. Let's get a little bit of intuitive here for a second. And this question actually explored for a classroom assignment, and that class is called Theory of Knowledge, and it's pretty much a philosophical class that goes ahead and identifies with different ways of knowing and methods for knowing. So one of the classroom guidelines or final projects is answering a theory of knowledge question. And there's certain questions that they give you to answer, but the way you go about answering it, you can go ahead and choose that on your own. And the question that I really wanted to magnify is, should video games be used as a way of knowing in the classroom setting? Now, whether you live in the UK or America, those are the main video game countries, not countries, but main video game regions / countries in the world. And in those areas or regions, the traditional learning experience is normally a lecturing of some kind from a teacher or professor, and the student is the one who takes most of the notes. It's normally not the classroom ran by the students themselves. And grading is arbitrary, which means that the teacher normally has some sort of opinion-based process in her grading or he grading other students' papers. Unless it's mathematical, because in mathematics it really doesn't matter that much unless you get the right answer. Unless you have a teacher who just wants you to go about a certain formula and not being able to figure out different ways on your own. Now, this is what I propose why video games should be used more of a way of knowing. And I'm not just talking about your traditional video games, like it's just a variety of video games. Now, I think students would be more well-rounded learners if this was the case, because video games simply host many ways of knowing, and it really gets deep, and it exercises a lot of parts of knowing that the average person wouldn't know. There's a common misnomer that video games just waste lives. Video games is a waste of time. But simply, I view it as more than just this. In 2009, Leapfrog, which is pretty much a small gaming device for elementary pre-K students for different games in the areas of mathematics, science, reading, writing, all those different areas that you would find in a school setting, is utilized through a gaming system, which is the Leapfrog. In 2009, Leapfrog students perform better in sound fluency. I don't know what this is. Phoneme segmentation fluency. I'm guessing it's another thing that has to do with measuring one's knowledge, and spelling. They did better in this than their counterparts who didn't play these type of learning devices. And I think not only should they be used in the pre-K and elementary school setting, I think they should be used on all levels, including high school and college. Now, would this really be successful in all settings? I think it would, because of video games' emotional appeal. And many would argue, well, not everybody likes video games. I don't think that's necessarily the case, that there are people out there who just don't like any type of video games. There might be a few people out there, but I think it's the type of video games, the type of mainstream propaganda that is produced at this level commonly that people don't like. But I think if there were video games to appeal to a wider audience, that they would be way more purchase. I couldn't figure out how to phrase that, but you get the point. So there are reasons why this would be very successful, and there are going to be different things that I will explain video games have that the traditional classroom setting doesn't have to offer. The first is production. In essence, video game players are producers of the games they play. Now you're saying, no, they didn't code the video game. They didn't produce the idea of what settings or what events are going to go on in the video game, but still they are producers. In the classroom setting, they give you a book, you read the book, and the closest you're going to get to self-production is writing down your answers. But in video games, you're producing your own experience. When you play a video game, the same thing doesn't happen every single time. You don't happen to go 90 degrees in this angle every time. You don't happen to go left the same distance this amount of time. Like, for example, you see a COD gameplay. I'm not going to be in my next match, or in any future match for that matter, being in the same exact spot at the same exact time, shooting the same amount of bullets. This is just an example with COD, but you get the point with all video games. Second, customization. In most games, video games players can adjust settings to fit their mental and physical structure. Now, in the school setting, there are, I would probably say, something that is an alternative for some is special ed classes, and those are for those who may be considered mentally disabled, but those are still dictated by whoever is the classroom assigner themselves. The student doesn't have the option to really choose how they would like to learn. It's mainly still proposed by some sort of teacher of that sort who isn't probably mentally or physically disabled. But in video games, you can adjust settings. Once again, I'm going to use Call of Duty for example, since I'm using this. Sensitivity. If I find myself not being able to react as fast with a certain sensitivity, I can lower the sensitivity so I can be able to aim the gun easier. But that's not the case with the classroom setting. That's just one example. Brightness, margins, there's just a variety of things you can go about. What else? You can also do subtitles for reading if you can't hear as well. There's just a lot of options. Third, comfortability through virtual interaction. In the classroom setting, I know a lot of people have experienced it, unless you're just a really out there and reputable person in your school setting. Sometimes the teacher may have said something, you may have not heard them as much. You don't want to feel like you're holding the class behind just because of yourself. So the teacher asks, does anybody have any questions? And you say to yourself, I really do have a question. I really don't understand this. But she already repeated it once, so I'm not going to raise my hand because I don't want to hold the classroom back. Well, you don't have to worry about this in video games. In video games, virtual interaction games, I'm thinking along the lines of Skyrim, those type of games where you actually go around to different characters and collect information. Is there a limit on how many times you can talk to these characters? No. The player has free will to talk to the characters as much as they want to deem what information they think is most valuable, and until they can get the steps right. Finally, risk taking. This is probably one of the most important ones. In real life, one cannot live without being invulnerable. One can not have up to 3 lives, like a lot of classic video games. But in video games, it encourages one to risk take, to be able to go out of the norm and to do something that you normally want to do on a daily basis. And when you are comfortable with risk taking, that means you're comfortable with being able to make mistakes. When you're comfortable with being able to make mistakes, then that means that that's a lot of more leeway for learning and knowledge. So finally, I conclude that there are still going to be those out there who say, no, video games are not going to be good for learning because they're just forms of entertainment. But all in all, I say video games are a good method for learning because it exercises, not only is it emotionally appealing depending on the video game, because not all video games are emotionally appealing to everybody, but depending on the video game, it's going to be emotionally appealing to the majority of the audience. It exercises imagination, intuition, memory, in some games, language, and sense perception. This is your boy T-Thizzle88. I really had fun with this commentary. I hope you all enjoyed, rehearsed what I said, and this is your boy T-Thizzle88 signing out. And just to end on one note, I finished this gameplay 32-10. So anyway, this is your boy T-Thizzle88 signing out, and peace.